Today I'm going to show you how to install a power supply into a desktop computer. First thing you want to do is to determine which way the fan is blowing on your power supply. Normally, if the fan is blowing in, what you want to do is try to set to where the power supply is blowing air outside your computer. So normally when it blows in, it actually creates more heat inside your computer. Now, if the power supply is being mounted at the top of the computer, more likely you have no choice and it has to be mounted where the fan's blowing in. Now, if you notice, on my case though, power supply goes in the bottom, and as you can see, it's actually made where I can do either or. I can actually put it where the air blows out, or the air can go in. And flip it around. Now to determine this is which way the blades are facing. As you see, the blades are facing more towards down, which means it blows the air, sucks the air in. So, for me, I can go either way. I can put this where it's sucking the computer air in and then blowing it out, which is actually good because then it helps with heat control inside the computer. But if you're afraid it might overheat the power supply, then I'll put it the other way, that way it will suck air from the bottom. Now, one of the drawbacks to mounting a power supply to the bottom is that sometimes if you get the wrong kind of power supply, your cabling won't be long enough to reach the power connectors that are up here. So what you want to do is just set it in there. And then find your main cable, and all you have to do is go, ooh, plenty of room. Find your, it's one of these, plenty of room. So if this power supply, I'm not going to have any trouble hooking it up to the motherboard. And if you do have trouble, there's an extension you can buy for this that'll give you an extra 2 or 3 inches. Okay, now once you put the power supply in, what you want to do is make sure it's not crushing any cables or anything underneath. Set it down in there. Okay. Now, you can use the screws that came with the former power supply that was in it if it had one. Recommend using the screws that came with it, because then less chance of stripping the threads out. Now, since mine's bottom mount and can go either way, as you see, there's multiple screw holes. And since it's mounted that way, you see the holes lined. Now, if this was top mounted, it can only go one way. Basically, it's idiot proof. So when you stick it in top mounted, it will actually have screw holes lined up. Screw it in. Might be slightly tight since this is the first time it's being screwed in. Okay, now it's all mounted. Okay, now after you mounted your power supply, now we're going to hook up the power to the motherboard. As you see here, here's the main cable. Right now it's set for 24 pin, but if your motherboard happens to be 20 pin, you notice this little piece here slides off, and out comes a 20 pin. So Just make sure you know which connector it is. So hook that back up. Then we'll take it and just make sure the hook piece is facing. There's like a little knob piece here that it clips over. So we'll come over here. And push it in. There we go. That piece is mounted. Now, almost all the new motherboards, you have an extra 4-pin power connector that has to be plugged in. So through this nice mess of cables, we'll find it. And you can see here, this power supply has it where you can make it 8-pin or 4-pin. Just pull them apart. And what you want to do is find your 4-pin connector, which is way over here. And again, line up with the little hook. And you insert that in. There you go. Now your motherboard can now receive its power. One of the choices you have to make when you're looking for a power supply is the number of power connectors for your devices. Most of mine are almost all serial ATA. So getting a power supply that has more serial ATA, which are these, is preferable. And this is the old format, the Molex. So what you want to do now is start hooking up your devices. Now I've run into a slight problem. I have no more serial ATA power connectors. The only thing I got left are these. So what you need to do is get yourself a power adapter. There's a few different kinds. This one happens to be a single adapter. They also make them where you got 2 of them on one power adapter. Since I've only need one, just line up wire for wire, yellow to yellow, black to black, red to red. Fit it on there. And then just plug it in. Okay. And since I got the actual out of the place. Plug that one in. And plug my fans in. One important thing to do is make sure all the cables are away from the CPU fan. You don't want it getting in the way and stopping the fan by accident. Then you'll have a real problem. Especially if you have heat settings turned off. It will know to shut down. Once you're done, do not put the side back on just yet. What you want to do is hook up the power and turn it on and make sure everything works. And once everything is working, then you can put your side back on. One important side note is the voltage selector. As you see, it's set to 115 volt, and that's normal for the United States. But if you're in other countries, you have to check the power supply manufacturer. Make sure you got the correct volt. What you want to do is slide that up, and now it's 230. But don't do that here in the United States, because you'll fry your power supply and maybe anything else with it. So always make sure here in the US that make sure it's set to 115. Should be automatically, but just in case. And for any other country, like I said, you have to go to the website of the manufacturer of your power supply and make sure what to set it to if you don't know.